Looking to build a powerful new AMD Ryzen rig? The motherboard is the foundation of your build, but choosing the right one for AM5 can be a bit tricky. That's why today, we're cutting through the clutter to bring you the 5 best AM5 motherboards to unlock the full potential of your next Ryzen setup. Let's dive in. This version is clear, simple, and easy to understand for a broad audience. Let me know if you need any more changes. Number 5. Gigabyte A620i. The Gigabyte A620i is all about getting you onto the AM5 platform without breaking the bank. As you may know, the A620 chipset is AMD's entry-level option for their latest Ryzen processors, and while these boards might seem suitable only for basic CPUs, you can actually pair them with some solid mid-range chips. In fact, you could even use a Ryzen 9 in certain cases. For its price, the Gigabyte A620i packs a surprising amount of power. It features a 5+2+1 phase VRM with a heatsink, which provides a solid foundation, and based on what I've seen, this should be plenty for non-X Ryzen chips and might even handle the Ryzen 7600X, 7700X, 7800X 3D, and lower power Ryzen 9000 series in the future. Being a mini ITX board, it's compact, which means there are only 2 RAM slots. You also get a single PCIe 4.0 M.2 slot for a fast NVMe SSD. On the back, you'll find a good selection of ports, 2 USB A 2.0, 1 USB A 3.2 Gen 2, a couple of USB A 3.2 Gen 1, a USB-C 3.2 Gen 1 port, plus Gigabit Ethernet. While there are other A620 boards, like the MSI Pro A620M, which might save you a few bucks, the Gigabyte board stands out for its slightly more robust VRM setup and the addition of a heatsink, which many other budget A620 boards lack. So, if your main goal is to dive into DDR5 RAM and the latest AMD technology without spending a lot, the Gigabyte A620i looks like a smart choice. Number 4. MSI Mag X670 Tomahawk Wi-Fi. Now, this board gives off a real premium feel at less than a premium price. People have already become fans of its impressive build quality, and it's packed with lots of connectivity options. When it comes to performance, the 14+2+1 VRMs seem to handle both gaming and productivity tasks really well. It also opens up some nice overclocking potential for those high-end AM5 CPUs. Users who've put it through its paces mention the VRMs stay surprisingly cool under pressure. What's also cool about this board is how user-friendly it is. Apparently, MSI has included a bunch of what they call ease DIY features, which is pretty much like having a helping hand during the PC building process. And for the gamers out there, this motherboard has an AI LAN manager tool that's getting some buzz. The idea is it helps prioritize network traffic to give you the lowest possible ping, which is always a win in competitive games. Connectivity-wise, you're looking at a ton of USB ports, 11 on the back end, 9 up front, so you shouldn't be running out of places to plug things in anytime soon. The only slight drawback some people mention is the 4 SATA 3 connectors. For a board in this price range, a few more would have been nice, but overall, the MSI Mag X670 Tomahawk Wi-Fi looks like a solid all-around performer with some really thoughtful features. If you're serious about competitive gaming or a first-time builder looking for a smoother experience, this board definitely deserves a look. Number 3. Gigabyte X670 AORUS Elite. Now, this is a more advanced motherboard rocking the very latest X670 chips, so you know it's built to squeeze every last bit of performance out of those AM5 Ryzen CPUs. It boasts a beefy 16+2+2 VRM setup rated at 110A, so if you were lucky enough to snag a Ryzen 9 7900X 3D, this board is ready for it. And for the memory enthusiasts out there, it supports speeds up to DDR5 8600, which is backed by AI overclocking. That's pretty neat since it can figure out the best settings for your specific components, and this board is quite loaded in regard to storage and connectivity as well. You get 4 M.2 slots for your NVMe SSDs, and 3 of them are the blazing fast PCIe 5.0. You're also swimming in USB ports, with 2 super speedy USB 4.0 ports with 40 gigabits per second, for USB A 3.2 Gen 2, for USB A 3.2 Gen 1, and even a couple of USB A 2.0 ports for good measure. And for networking, you're future-proofed with Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 5.4, and even a 5GB Ethernet port. But here's the thing, it's not just about the raw specs. Gigabyte has really focused on those little quality-of-life improvements here. You see, the Wi-Fi antenna is a simple push-on now, no more messing with those tiny screw pigtails. All the M.2 slots are toolless too. That means no more hunting for dropped screws. Even the M.2 heatsinks have magnets to help you line them up perfectly. Besides, the The main PCIe 5.0 slot even has an easy unlatch button, and of course, there are debug LEDs, always a welcome sight when you're troubleshooting. So with the Gigabyte A620I AORUS Elite, you're not just getting top-tier performance, you're also getting a board that's clearly designed with the builder in mind, making the whole experience just that much better. Number 2. MSI MPG X670E Carbon Wi-Fi. We've got the MSI MPG X670E Carbon Wi-Fi, which really showcases what AMD's latest X670 chipset brings to the AM5 platform. We're talking about a top-of-the-line board here, loaded with pretty much every cutting-edge connectivity option you could want. It's got PCIe 5.0 for those super-fast graphics cards and SSDs, support for seriously speedy DDR5 RAM at 8400 MHz and beyond, USB 4.0 for blazing fast transfers, 5G networking, and the latest Wi-Fi 7 with Bluetooth 5.4, from what people are saying. Pairing this board with a high-end CPU like the AMD Ryzen 9 7900X3D really makes things fly. It's not just about the benchmark numbers though, this motherboard is absolutely packed with ports, headers, and slots. You're getting 2 USB-C 4.0 ports running at blistering 40 gigabits per second, 2 more USB-C ports at 10 gigabits per second, and a whopping 11 USB-A ports, also at 10 gigabits per second. It's interesting to see they've skipped the older USB 2.0 and 5 gigabits per second ports entirely, which suggests a clear focus on future proofing and pushing for faster devices while still letting you plug in your older stuff. Power delivery looks robust too, with an 18+2+1 DRPST power stage design. Even the automatic settings in the BIOS are pretty spot on, working seamlessly with high-speed DDR5 memory and top-tier CPUs. Now the one thing that might make you pause is the price. This motherboard is definitely on the higher end, and with component prices potentially going up, it might be a stretch for some budgets. But if that doesn't concern you, the MSI MPG X670E Carbon Wi-Fi is definitely a serious contender for any AM5 build. Number 1. Asus ROG Strix X670E Gaming. We've got the Asus ROG Strix X670E Gaming, absolutely one of the best motherboards for your Ryzen 7000 or 9000 series CPU. This one consistently has to come up in any conversation. For starters, this board is just loaded with expansion options. We're talking a ton of PCIe X16 and M.2 slots, but here's the real kicker. A good chunk of these are running at those blazing fast PCIe 5.0 speeds. You get 2 PCIe 5.0 X16 slots and 3 PCIe 5.0 M.2 slots for your SSDs. That's a serious amount of PCIe 5.0 bandwidth, even for an X670E board, since most others in this category only give you 2 PCIe 5.0 M.2 slots. Power delivery is also top-notch, with an 18+2-stage VRM design. That's more than enough juice even if you're rocking the top-of-the-line Ryzen 9 7950X, and for memory, it supports DDR5 speeds up to 8000 MHz, and it's got plenty of headroom for overclocking your CPU, RAM, and other components. But it's not just about the headline features, the Strix also nails the fundamentals. You've got 8 fan headers, which is great for keeping things cool. There's an error code display, which can be a lifesaver when troubleshooting. Plus it's got heatsinks for your SSDs and a crazy number of USB ports on the front of the case. Looking at the back panel, you'll find even more, 12 USB 3.2 Gen 2 ports and 1 superfast 3.2 Gen 2x2 port. For networking, it uses Intel's 2.5 gigabits Ethernet, which is plenty for gaming and content creation. And if you're serious about your audio, the 5 audio jacks plus optical output are a nice touch. Even if you're not super into the nitty-gritty specs, there's one thing that's hard to ignore. This board just looks fantastic. It's got that classic ROG aesthetic, a sleek black design with tasteful RGB lighting, without being over the top with branding. It's the kind of look that fits in with just about any build theme. So when you put it all together, the Asus ROG Strix X670E Gaming really stands out as the top dog. It's got the performance, the features, and even the looks to make it a truly exceptional centerpiece for your high-end Ryzen build. Thanks for watching. If you want more videos like these, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Also press the bell icon for instant notifications so that you never miss a video from Tech Insight.